I'm very happy to talk today to lFrauenglass. And Cheryl is a healer and a speaker and an author, but mostly you are a cosmic conduit. That's the name of your homepage, thecosmicconduit.com. And I'm so happy that we connect today because you bring together qualities that I find very, very interesting. You are a healer, you do business matrix activations, you also work as a medical intuitive, but you're not only like a woo person for people in the process of awakening, you're also very much down to earth person, and you're very knowledgeable in terms of business and social media and how to run and create projects in the world. And so for me, that's a very, very fascinating combination. And I'm so thankful that you take time and that we can talk together today. And thank you for being here, Cheryl.
Thank you for inviting me. It makes me smile just looking at you. Yes, it's an honor to be here with you and to be having this conversation.
Thank you. I have lots of questions, of course, but first I would love to talk a little bit more about what was your path like? How did you become this multi-passionate, very exciting woman you are today? And I remember, and it's also on your homepage, you said when you were a kid, you were already very intuitive, but there was a time where you kind of shut down your perception. Could you tell me more about it?
Sure. I never actually, for years, I didn't think I was intuitive. I didn't think, I totally forgot. And when I first started remembering my abilities, let's put it that way, I looked back and I could see like various things that had happened to me in my life where it pushed away those things because I thought maybe I was making it up in my head, or other people were right and I was wrong. And there was one time in particular that I remembered when I was a kid where we used to drive by this house every day on the way to the apartment where we lived. And I remember saying to my mom, I used to live there, and I would tell her all about how I lived there and there was a woman that took care of me that lived in that house and what my room looked like. And she said to me, "Oh, honey, you have such an active imagination." Now I was like probably 5, I think, when we lived in that apartment. So I didn't even really know the difference between reality and imagination. I thought it was just all right, like most 5-year-olds. But I could tell by the tone of her voice that she didn't see it the way that I did. Like that there was something about my telling her that she didn't understand. No matter, I remember feeling a little frustrated, like, no, I really live there. I'm not making it up. And at some point I decided, after many things like that happened, that, perhaps I did make it up, and perhaps, they were right and I was wrong. So, and I think that happens to a lot of people. We come in with this knowing or these gifts, and something happens, or someone tells us, "Oh no, that's not okay." Either the church says it's not okay, or your parents say it's not okay, or your teachers say it's not okay. And so after a while, it's like, well, they're the big people and I'm the little person, so they must be right. And so I definitely did that, and for years didn't even realize that I had a connection beyond what was normal, or what most people experience. So,
did you have any friends who you could talk to about your memories or your intuitions?
Well, I just kind of put that on the back burner. I really didn't. I think being, life happens and you're in a family or, I think it's funny. I think about the word dysfunctional, a dysfunctional family. I think, I haven't met too many people that didn't have some sort of something in their family. And so that was the focus. It wasn't on me and, exploring my intuition or my perceptions or my psychic abilities or whatever it was when I was a kid. So it's interesting. And then it really was a long time before I realized. I mean, even when it started to come back in, there was part of me that said, well, it's not that big a deal. Or it's, it was a lucky guess or coincidence or things like that. I said that at first. And then slowly but surely, I realized that I had my own unique way of perceiving things and my own unique way of experiencing the world that didn't look like my friends that are, call themselves a channel or a psychic or something like that. It didn't look like that. But that doesn't mean that we don't have those abilities just because it doesn't look like how someone else's looks. I had a friend who I used to hang out with, and she would see auras and she would see like into people's bodies. And I'm like, I want to see. And I think the more I wanted to, I want that. The less it would happen. I said, well, I guess that's for someone else. That's apparently I don't have that gift. But it wasn't until I stopped looking for it that it started coming in. And for me,
how did it come in? Like, what happened? Or did you invite it in? Did you what happened?
I was a spiritual seeker from the time I was a kid, and I tried all these different religions. I used to go to different churches with my friends. I even joined Jews for Jesus when I was 16 with my friend Jenny, and just exploring, trying to figure out, to make sense of the world, I think, and also to have a sense of belonging. So, and I learned to meditate. My dad took my brother and I when we were about 12, 13, somewhere around there. And my brother was a little younger. He took us to the Transcendental Meditation Center to learn meditation. And that had a profound effect. So I started meditating every day in a very formal way. And I was always curious and looking and seeking and trying different things. And then when I became a young adult, taking courses and reading books and learning how to say affirmations, and I tried everything.
Like the Louisa Hay era.
Yes, it was around Louise. That was one of the first books I read. You Can Heal Your Life, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. Actually, the first book I read was by Shakti Gawain.
Yeah, I read that too. That was one of my first
Creative
books.
Visualizations. That was one. And all of it was, I felt like I had to fix myself. Like there was something wrong, there was something broken. Like I didn't feel right, and so I was always looking for ways to, you could call it self-improvement, but for me, there was something missing, and I was always seeking it. And then through a series of events, I can't say, well, there was one particular big wake-up call. But through a series of events, I eventually had a big awakening, which was, maybe now it's about like 7 years ago. And I'd been working with a spiritual teacher who, for me, the reason she came into my life was so that I could stop going to spiritual teachers looking for an answer. I was like, I needed to have like a big enough shakeup at the core of my being so that I would just say, okay, that's enough. Stop giving your power away to other people, other things, other, books, anything. And start, looking within and remembering your connection. So that leading up to the, more mystical experience, I had about a year of they call it the dark night of the soul. Some people call it that, where I really, the way I see it now is I had to take everything apart. I had to dismantle myself, everything that I'd learned, and kind of just go, I don't know. Just, I don't know. I just know that what I've been doing is not the answer. Like continuing to take workshops and continuing to look to spiritual teachers. And it's like, that is not the answer. So I kind of made myself a blank slate again.
Did you do it voluntarily, or did life kind of kick you in the process?
It was a cosmic 2x4. Whack! And so, but what emerged out of that, Katerina, was this amazing, well, I'll tell you, I was up in Sedona, and which I'm fortunate to, it's just a couple hours up the road from me, so I go there fairly frequently. I'd been at this retreat for like a 7 to 10 days. The retreat was over, and I was about to get in my car and drive home, and I just heard this very strong voice, go back to your cabin. And I thought, well, maybe I forgot something. I don't know. And I went back to my cabin, and I lay down on my bed that I just was directed to lay down on my bed. And I was just relaxing there for a minute. And I had just this amazing experience where I won't go into all of the details of it, but basically what happened was I'd gotten to a place of what I would say surrender enough so that I could just let in what was next for me. And laying there on that bed, that little bed in this beautiful cabin, by the way, what came to me were beings, which in the past I might have said they were angels or something like that. They were beings from another place, and they came, and it was one of the most loving experiences where they basically went into my physical body and my spiritual body, kind of cleaned everything up, showed me things from past lifetimes, and took me through a very cathartic kind of experience. What also was happening while this was happening was I had a Kundalini awakening. So energy came through me that I had maybe had a little bit of a taste of, but this was incredibly powerful. It really woke me up physically. And through this, as I just allowed it to come through me, all of this, and it probably lasted an hour or so, except it felt like many hours. What started to happen was I experienced the merging of myself as in my physical body with everything. And people talk about the experience of God, and that was it's like there was no doubt after that. Like I understood my connection to something beyond here. And I understood that, I was created as part of creation and felt it. It was incredible. I was so, and I'm pretty good about, like, I know when I'm kind of not really grounded. And when it was over, I got into my car and I took some deep breaths just to make sure I was really in my body and I was grounded. Well, apparently I wasn't, because I drove to Flagstaff instead of coming back to Phoenix, which is in the opposite direction, and finally realized, I'm going in the wrong way. And it lasted for quite a few days, actually. The Kundalini. All I wanted to do was eat honey. It was really funny. I remember being in a restaurant with friends, and I just didn't even want food. I just wanted to eat honey for like 3 days. I did eat food, but I would have been fine just eating honey. So maybe it was just experiencing the sweetness of life and knowing. So after that, things were very different.
So that changed your whole life?
It did. It was definitely one of those turning points.
Mm.
I still had a lot of self-judgment about myself where I would experience things. I still had that thing. I want to see other people see, or I want to, have this get, compare myself still a lot with others until I realized that my way of being and my way of perceiving was mine. and, and I couldn't really explain it to anyone else because it's unique to me, just like it's unique to you, how you experience things.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that was a huge turning point for me. Yeah.
I have a question because, when I prepared myself for our talk, I noticed that I felt so drawn to wear something in soft pink. And then I had to laugh because I think like 10 years ago, if somebody would have told me that I make a public interview about God, angels, intuition, past lives, wearing something in soft pink, I would have said like, no way, I'd rather jump the bridge.
That's pretty funny. So you wear things that were more structured, like business-like? Yes,
Yeah.
I understand.
but the but the thing is, you said you had this experience with angels. Like, was that something you experienced before? Like, did you work, or how, before you had this awakening experience, how did you experience guidance? Like, did your whole um, did your whole guidance system or your whole perspective on guidance change with this awakening as well?
It did change, but when I was in my early 20s, I had these 3 guides. And honestly, I didn't know whether it was real or I was making it up in my head, but I kind of didn't care. I had these 3 guides, and 2 of them would tell me their names, actually. And they were they were human form. One of them was a very strong woman. I think what I see now is there were aspects of myself that I wanted to strengthen in me.
Mm-hmm.
One was this very strong woman who told me her name was Diana, and it's funny, she had curly hair like my hair is.
Oh.
um, and then there was this man who was very quiet, but I felt very like when I felt insecure, he was there. It was David. He told me his name was David, which is my son's middle name. Because of that. And then there was this third one that would never tell me his name. And it was hard to like pin it down. It was almost like mist. But I always felt this kind of just peace in the presence of this third one. Come to find out years later that actually was a guide that I had that's actually in a physical body now, that you and I both know, Will. I found out that was him. Yes. So yes, I've had guides, and it's funny because I think about kids having imaginary friends.
Mm-hmm.
And my kids never really talked about having imaginary friends, but we had a neighbor who had some imaginary friends. And I wonder now, it's like we're those guides, angels, whatever you want to call them, that were with them. And yes, of course. But that's, how we can put them in a neat little box, when we are trying to explain things like that. So yes, it started a long time ago. And I'm sure when I was little, I have a memory of just, being like 5 and kind of looking up at the stars and, just knowing there was some connection there. And almost like, why'd you leave me down here? I'm supposed to be up somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's weird down here with humans.
Oh, yes, it is. But after your experience in Sedona, you started like working with light language, and you started your matrix work as well?
that actually was like another turning point. So what that experience did was connect me, and and I at that time I interpreted it as the angels came to me. That's how I interpreted it, because that was as far out there as I had gone, and like I really didn't understand more than that. Then few years later, I started having other experiences where I was at a retreat in Crestone, Colorado, which is an incredible place. Just the energies there. I mean, Sedona is wonderful, but Crestone, Colorado you feel like you're out in the stars all the time, even though you're on the ground.
I need to go there. I'm just taking a note.
Yes, it's incredible. It's really an incredible place. So I was in Crestone at a retreat, and it was a spiritual retreat, and I was one of like 12 participants, and there was a woman in the retreat who was sitting next to me, and she was struggling physically with she kept like stopping her heart, and the woman who was leading the retreat was working with her, right in front of her, but they were sitting next to me. And apparently, now I kind of was conscious, but I wasn't fully conscious. This was the first time something like this happened to me. All of a sudden, apparently, I started like moving my hands, and I was like doing this thing and what I now know was I was connecting with her higher levels so that she wouldn't leave her body. So she would understand.
Wow.
She would understand that she had, chosen to be here, and that to help her remember so that she wouldn't, basically check out in the middle of the retreat. So that happened. And then a few years later, I had another kind of experience where I was my first experience truly channeling. I was on Skype with a friend of mine. And she said that all of a sudden she had asked a question about Jesus. Just like, I wonder what Jesus, blah, 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 blah. I don't remember what the question was. And we were kind of having this rhetorical conversation. And she said all of a sudden something changed, and she realized that I was channeling Jesus. And she started typing what I was saying. Now, at a certain point, I came, and I said, what did I just say? And she said, you went somewhere. You were like, and at that moment, I made a decision that I did not want to do that. I did not want to be a trance channel who wasn't conscious, whether I was, doing light language energy work or channeling, and I told my guides and, the beings that I'm connected with, I said, I am perfectly happy. I know I'm a cosmic conduit. I accept the assignment, but I won't get out of the way. I want to be physically present. And now I do get a little spacey. I might not be able to tell you what I said, but I am conscious. You can ask me questions, and I'm right there. So for me, that was really important.
Is that the time where your work as a cosmic conduit started?
It really was. That was where, and I didn't even know what light language was.
It just happened.
Yeah, except it's interesting. So again, back to my 20s, I had a deaf roommate, and I learned sign language and finger spelling. And as soon, like the minute I got really fluent at finger spelling, I one day noticed that automatically I was finger spelling the word conduit, conduit, fast, conduit, with my hand by my side. I'm like, it's not a word like that, especially in my 20s, that I used very often. I knew what it meant, but why was I spelling conduit automatically? And obviously I was being told something back then, because as I was having a conversation with my friend Joy, and she said, you're the cosmic conduit. And I went, Oh my God. I remember I used to spell conduit. So apparently I've been one for a long time.
Wow.
Yes.
So your whole business name and your business idea and your whole work kind of was given to you. You didn't search for it. It was like, or when you stopped searching, it was given to you.
Yes. So before that, I had, my business was called True Voice Communications, which still is my official business name. True Voice Communications, and it was much less spiritual and much more business oriented. Although I am not, no matter what part always comes through.
Mm-hmm.
But I was teaching people how to use Facebook for their businesses, and I was doing coaching and small business consulting and that sort of thing. That was the main thing that I was doing, and this was sort of a side thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when my channel opened, that's when I said, oh, I'm supposed to be incorporating this into my business, no matter what, whether I'm doing business consulting or coaching, this part is part of it, And actually, I'll tell you one other thing, which I think addresses a lot of conversations that I've had lately where people are wondering about physical symptoms that they have, where it just doesn't seem like they're actually sick or there's something wrong, but it's hard to kind of understand that as you're in it, because it feels like, whatever's happening, it feels like I'm sick, I have a fever. So a few years ago, and this was when I really was like, oh, I really, really wish that I had gifts like other people, and I could see or whatever. And I had this horrible earache in my right ear. Just one day I woke up with it. And I had a slight earache, but I'd never had really an earache like this. And it was extremely painful. And I tried everything natural that I could think of to get rid of it first. And nothing was working. And then I finally went to a doctor. One doctor told me I'd burst my eardrum. Another doctor said, oh, no, you didn't burst your eardrum. You just, have fluid and I took antibiotics, which I don't take very often. And nothing I tried worked, including the antibiotics. So what it did, so this went on for 4 months.
Oh, you poor thing.
I had to go to sleep, and I take a bunch of ibuprofen and just anything to get rid of the pain. And when I think it was after I tried the antibiotics and that didn't work, I really didn't know what else to do. So it was a surrender moment for sure, because I was like, okay, I guess they couldn't really figure out anything wrong, and there was no solution that could be found. So I just said, I guess I'll just have to manage the pain. Well, within probably 24, 48 hours of me finally surrendering, I started getting messages through that ear.
Wow.
Literally, I could hear, from my higher levels messages through that ear. And my channel
And this was your right ear?
It was my right ear, and the pain went away. There was no more pain. And I remember thinking, well, could I have avoided that whole thing? If I had surrendered sooner, would I have, gotten the message and, started getting messages? And yes, perhaps, except I needed to have the experience of trying everything first and then realizing that I wasn't sick. I didn't really have an earache. My ear hurt, but I really didn't. There was nothing physically wrong with me. And it was a huge lesson for me about, we don't know a lot of times when things are happening to us. We don't really know what the bigger picture is. So, yeah.
What an awesome story. So when you hear your guides, kind of from an external place?
I've had different, ever since I surrendered and just said, it's just going to be how it is for me, and I didn't worry about how it came through. It's shifted and changed. And I would say more often than not, it's just a knowing. And when I say a knowing, what it is for me is if you took all of your senses that you could experience things through, seeing, hearing, touching, and combine them with this kind of other level of
how
knowing.
do you distinguish, or how do you hear things? Like, when do you know it's an inner knowing, or when? I think for a lot of people, the question is like, is it my inner critic? Is it my ego speaking? And what is like your real, true knowing of things?
It's a funny thing and I still go through it, is that I actually had a friend ask me a really important question last night. She said, tune in, and, and then she had said, and it was for myself. And my ego, my mind was going like, and I said, you know what? I need to go to soak in the tub and get my mind out of the way, because I can't, because my mind had an answer that it really, really, yes, I want to, yes. And I didn't know if it was in the highest. And I couldn't get centered enough to in that moment. And I think it's interesting because I think the way that I got through that, questioning all the time whether the information I was getting was correct or not, was I said, well, what if I am making it up in my mind? Who cares? What if it is my mind? Like, just see what would happen if I followed that trajectory anyway. What, I got a yes to going to this conference. Is it my mind that said it, or was it, really my higher wisdom that said it? Did God speak to me and say it? I kind of heard this voice, or, I got a sign, something came in the mail that said, yes, I should go to the conference. I finally, and this is not how I was before. I was like, I want confirmation. I know. But when you stop doing that thing where you're always looking for confirmation and I want to guarantee, and you just go, all right, if I'm making it up, so be it. And there'll be something to learn from that, or, something to experience with that, then that's okay too. That's okay too.
Yeah.
And you learn something from that. And it's actually, I believe for myself, that's actually how things started to open up more, because I was not trying to control it. So,
yeah, that's such an interesting point, because I noticed, like, when I followed my spiritual path deeper, that I faced so much super ego, like spiritual super ego, wanting to be good and wanting to be extra good and wanting to be extra intuitive and wanting to have like super clear thoughts and wanting to be super loving and not wanting to be judgmental and da 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 da. So this whole thing,
exhausting.
Gosh, it was so exhausting. And the only way out was for me to say, fuck it. I mean, sorry for the language, but it's like, so what? I allow myself to think every nasty thought on this planet, because if I try to be this good person, I just fail completely, and it creates so much stress.
Yes.
And it's and I think the question, like, how do we follow, like, really our guidance, and how do we follow, or is it in the highest good of all, sometimes includes the surrender to our human side, just to get out of our expectations.
Yes, absolutely. I remember a while ago I'd been invited to go to this conference. Part of going was that I had to, because I was invited for free. I wasn't speaking at that one, but the person sent out a certain number of invitations to people that she wanted to be there, but I had to promise that I wouldn't leave early. That was part of it. Like, because she didn't want people to, she wanted like a core of people that would stay for the entire thing. And I said, okay. And a friend of mine was speaking at the conference. So I went and heard my friend speak the first day, and she was wonderful, but the conference was just, it was like, every bone in my body wanted to get up and go once I'd heard it just was not a good time. And, and the woman who was leading it she just wasn't in her heart, and it was very controlled. And Anyway, so I remember going home at night and thinking, oh, if there's any way that I could not go tomorrow. But I had promised I would go.
So how did you solve that?
I went to sleep. I woke up and I had a fever. And I thought, and it wasn't a horrible fever, and my body kind of ached, and I thought, oh, well, I'm sick. Like, that's a good excuse. But the good girl in me, the one that, you know, doesn't want to disappoint people and wants to keep my promises, said, no, I gotta go. So I got dressed. I start driving towards the conference. And this was when I just started hearing things, like after my channel opened up. I swear to God, it was like a movie, you know, where they have like the megaphone and God is the voice from above.
Hello, Cheryl.
A loud voice said, turn around and go home.
Oh.
You know, and I did, you know, and I went home. I think I went back to sleep. I woke up and I was fine. I had no fever. I was like, it was gone. And I wrote a nice letter to the woman, and I said, you know, I so apologize. I woke up, and it was true. I didn't have to lie, because I woke up with a fever, and, you know, I tried getting dressed and coming, but I just couldn't. Oh, no worries. It was no problem to her. I was just one of a bunch of people she'd invited. But the guilt that I had about it was just, and it was a clear message, you know, just you need to listen to those subtle things, or not so subtle. You wake up with the fever, your body's trying to tell you something, whether, you know, it's fighting something off or not. It's trying to tell you something. So, yes.
If you want to, I would love to talk with you about your business consultation work, because that is so exciting, because it's such a new tool and technology, and I don't know of anybody who uses stuff like that. So would you share like how you work and what you do?
It's one of the exciting things in my life right now. So well, I'll tell you again, because I love telling stories. It was in the fall that I was working with someone who was going to hire me to be a consultant for her business and help her with her business. And we were together, and all of a sudden I could see above her, and she knows me. So she's like, what are you seeing? I'm looking kind of up above her head, and all of a sudden I'm seeing this matrix above her head. You know, really, it was very geometric, like the only thing I can describe it like is it was like a half dome. It was, when I was a kid, we had these metal things on the playground. It was a type of monkey bars in the dome shape. It was my favorite thing to play. And it would look like that, except it wasn't made out of iron or whatever they made those things out of. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, I think that is the matrix for your business. And I'm being shown that I can go into the matrix, clear it, and like, do you want to do something with the matrix of your business? And she was like, yeah, whatever, go for it. And I was just guided. It wasn't, I'd never seen anything like it before. And I started like seeing, and because she was someone that I'd known for a while, I was able to, you know, as I was doing it, I was telling her what I was seeing and what was happening. And basically what these business matrix activations are is that every business, or it doesn't have to be a business, it can be a project that you're working on, has a life of its own, is one way to put it. I believe that when we come into our being here as a human, that we're connected to all sorts of things, and that there's kind of like it's not a path in that it can't change, because there's free will and things are always changing. But as creative beings, and as beings that have the ability to co-create with the whole universe, there are things that we can tap into and tools that we can use that are beyond marketing plans. And that's what these business matrix activations are. They are a way that I've been shown to actually see a business or a project, where it's the energetic structure of the business.
Of the current business.
Of the current business. Or it could be, I actually worked with a woman last week who didn't really have a business yet. Like she didn't have, like we couldn't do it about a specific business. Excuse me a sec. And, but she had a mission here on the planet. Like she knows she's here to do something. So I was able to go into the matrix of her and again, it's all connected. It's not just your business. The other term that I was given is your personal divine matrix, which is, it's you connected to all of who you are, your expanded self, you connected to all of your resources. So but specifically with a business or a project or a mission, when you connect into this and become conscious that it exists, there's all sorts of cool things that you can do. You can restructure things. You can clear out anything that might be blocking it from having your business like move forward. You can bring in resources from other, I'm going to get woo-woo here now, planetary.
Yeah, let's get woo-woo.
And honestly, this is the first time I've spoken this candidly about business and more woo-woo things.
I'm wearing pink. I'm all ready.
Awesome.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, I love your pink and your fuzzy. It's why I know I was drawn to have my hair curly today, because I do curly or straight.
It looks wonderful.
It's more me. It really is. So I know I'm being very general here, but it literally, the point of these business matrix activations is to move your business forward or to open it up to whatever's next, and to continually bring in new things, clear whatever's not working, and take it to the next level. And as things are changing so quickly, I'm actually doing, second and third ones sooner than I had when I first started doing them, because it's like, okay, things have changed, let's move it to the next level. And it's cool. There's lots of, I see them in a certain way, just like people see often when they're like medical intuitives that I talk to will talk about seeing things seeing people as a hologram. They see for me, I describe it as a matrix. I see it as a matrix, and there's different qualities to each one is totally unique. And it's very cool.
I have a question. Like when you work with different people on the matrix, is your experience that like we follow a path we can't avoid, and that the business is meant to be a certain way? Or do you see it as something that is evolving and has many chances to go in different directions? And so how do you perceive it?
It's definitely the second thing. And I that's my perspective about everything now. I used to think, you have a path, and that's the path you're going to follow, and it's divinely guided, and you don't really have any control. Well, you have free will, but it's just how things are meant to be. Now I know that just from my own experience, if I had thought that, I probably would have missed some openings and possibilities of things to try and do. So yeah, it's there's lots of opportunities for a business. One of the concepts that I started to understand over the past couple of years was the idea that that we can have lots of great ideas for a business. We can, and we want to, but we're in a co-creative process with the entire universe. It's not us. And if we start doing it from our own mental levels it's so limiting. And when we understand like that, creation doesn't even know what's going to be next because it hasn't been created yet, right? So it's kind of arrogant of us to think that we know what's going to be next and plan and you know, and have this rigid, okay, here's my 5-year plan. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, and I create plans, but you have to hold it loosely because then you miss opportunities to expand it even more, or have the universe present something even better than you thought. You know, your minds are just too limited to really have an expanded view. So,
do you ever talk about purpose? Like, do you think it is a purpose to have a certain business, or is it just like a creative expression that could be expressed also differently?
You have to know what your why is, but I think it can change. You know, I do this technique with a lot of my clients' business or otherwise. It's called the CPR, and it's context. You write out your context, purpose, and results, the intended results. And you know, it sounds very practical, right? And it is, but it really helps you the way I do it. It's not from the head. It's really looking at whatever it is you're doing, whether you are going to launch a new business, say you have a store and you're going to have a grand opening. Well, how do you want to feel when that grand opening is done? You're laying down at night, maybe you have a partner and you're telling them about what happened. Like, how do you want to feel? How do you want to feel personally? What do you want the customers to have felt who came to your grand opening? And I think that that's important because it taps into like a trajectory of possibility, and it kind of, you know, people talk about setting intentions, and I think that that's a wonderful, just as long as you know that you always put or better or more or you know, and stay open to it being beyond what you can imagine, right? Yeah.
So your work with the business matrix is kind of clearing the way and opening it up to possibilities we don't see with our minds. Is that, would you describe it different?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And it because it kind of happens with or without us anyway. It's funny because when we go into, it really depends on where the person is with their relationship to the co-creative process. What their matrix actually looks like or what point it's at. Because sometimes, like this woman that didn't really have a business yet, hers was it was almost like, it wasn't like protected per se, but it hadn't opened up in a certain way to bring. So we actually did that. We opened it up and brought in, you know, certain colors and it was very cool. And then the thing is that it's always connected to your physical body somehow.
Okay.
And it may be there's just been some anchor points connected to your body. And especially if you haven't fully kind of taken on your mission in a bigger way, it often won't have like fully anchored into you. And so that's part of what we do. We actually bring the matrix fully into your body, maybe not on the first session, because it depends, and it's not like a hierarchical, I wasn't ready for mine. It has nothing to do with that. It's just that it's at a certain stage of the creative process, and at a certain point it needs to come into your physical body so you're totally connected to it, so that you yourself can just go in, and whether or not you experience it visually or not, it doesn't matter, but that you have that that connection to it, so that you're with yourself and all of creation as you're working in your business, if that makes sense.
I want to do that. That sounds amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. Just have to look. I wonder, because when we started our conversation, you said you sat on a rock and you had a download yesterday. Is that in relation to your business matrix work?
Yes, I
You want to
actually,
share it with us?
yes, I would love to. So I asked because, I've been doing them very specifically for businesses and working one-on-one with people. But I know I'm going to be speaking at a conference in the fall, and I saw that I could do one for the entire audience, like at the same time. I'm like, well, how would that
Whoa.
work? Everyone's matrices are different. So yes, and then I knew we were going to be talking, and I got, yeah, we can do it. We can do, like a mini one here, because it's
Awesome.
not just about a business. And I know
Uh-huh.
people that are listening are going to be, from having a business or a project that they're working on or something, but it doesn't have to be that, because everyone has these matrices that they're connected with. So we can, so I was shown as I was sitting on the rock how to do that.
Yay!
How to do a divine matrix activation, we'll call it that, for anyone listening or watching.
That would be so wonderful.
So you want me to do that now?
If you want to, like,
Yes.
if it feels good for you.
Yeah. I think you'll really like it.
I'm.
Well, the first thing I want to say before I go into it is that when I'm doing more physical work, when I'm doing hands-on energy work, or through Skype or phone, I always see it as we go in there together.
Mm-hmm.
Go in together, whether it's the physical body or the matrix. And for some people, just the way I speak about it, they immediately get into their head, well, I don't see what she's seeing, or I don't, I'm not in there with her. And what I'm going to say in advance is, don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's different, and you are experiencing it whether you know it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So don't worry about that. Again, it goes back to what I was talking about before, mm-hmm. that it really, when you stop judging whether you see things or feel things like someone else, doesn't mean you're not having that experience. Mm-hmm. So I'll say that right off the bat.
And people can go back to this recording and do it again and again?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, uh-huh.
Absolutely. Yes, as you feel drawn to. Yes.
Sounds awesome.
Okay. So wherever you are, get in a comfortable position. And if you're driving, you're not going to close your eyes. But if you are not driving, you can close your eyes or not. It's up to you. Like if you want to actually watch me and watch how weird my hands get at a certain point, you're welcome.
I want to do both. I will close one eye.
So let's just together, we're just going to take a few deep breaths. Just as you exhale, just make a nice sound of just release. And on the next breath, just take your attention to your heart area, your heart chakra. And just breathe into your heart, becoming very conscious of your heart beating, your breath. And just feel yourself relaxing. And the thoughts, any thoughts that you have, you can just kind of imagine that they're just drifting away. You can come back to them later. But just be fully conscious and present as you hear my voice. And now with your consciousness, we're just going to move beyond the physical body. Out, beyond the room or the place that you are. Out. Through any building, ceiling, through the roof. Imagine your consciousness drifting up, up, up into the atmosphere. You can look back down and see the earth below you. You're still in the earth's atmosphere, but you're beginning to move beyond it. And then now, beyond the earth's atmosphere, out into the universe, out among the stars. You're kind of looking ahead and you see before you your matrix, your beautiful divine matrix. And for each person, it's going to look different. But some of the things that you might see, it might look very geometric. You might see colors within the structure of your matrix. You may see the fluid that runs through it. For many, there's like a fluid or a liquid, or sometimes it's more etheric, like air. And it runs through your matrix. It's what your matrix is made up of. And as you're kind of playing with this experience, get a sense now of this matrix that you're looking at being connected within your physical body, as well as being connected out through the omniverse, connected to other matrices, connected to other people's experiences in various ways, and beyond to a greater matrix out in the entire omniverse of all of creation. So right now, no matter what you're seeing or not seeing, it doesn't matter. We're going to bring in something that for every matrix is of great benefit. And what this is this beautiful, beautiful crystal liquid. If you can imagine the most beautiful crystal that you've ever seen turning into liquid. So it moves through your matrix, infusing every bit, every piece of your matrix with this divine energy. And its purpose is to clear and to raise the vibration of your matrix to whatever the next level is for you. And as we're bringing, you can also feel it in your physical body as your matrix is connected to your physical body. Then, of course, this liquid is also coming through the matrix that is part of your physical body. And as this is coming through your body, you can feel in every particle of your being, in every cell, you can feel this beautiful, beautiful crystal liquid going through every cell, going through every particle of your being, raising the vibration. You can feel your entire body becoming more electrified, alive, vibrant. Just breathe that in, that enhanced energy, knowing that it is all good. It is all good for you. And as this liquid is going through your matrix and through your physical body, I'm just going to go in and we're going to make some adjustments together in your personal matrix. And these adjustments are going to be automatically tuned just for you and what you are here to do and what your physical body needs, as well as your emotional, spiritual, mental, all of those levels. or making any adjustments that are in the highest for you in this moment. And just feel as this is happening, it's all for your highest good and the highest good of all that are connected to you and your matrix. So if there are areas that have been blocked, where you felt a little stuck, we're going to clear those now. If there are things that have been trying to come in and enhance you and your life and your matrix, we're going to bring those in now. And just know that it's all in your highest good. And just breathe. Just allow yourself to be bathed in that crystal liquid. I'm just going to take a moment and allow those adjustments to settle in. And now with your consciousness, we're going to take the consciousness that was out in the omniverse with your larger matrix that's connected to the all. And we're going to just slowly, 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 slowly bring you back down into the Earth's atmosphere. Back, 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 down, down, down. Through the roof of where you are, back into the room, and then back into your physical body. And just know that this activation has assisted you on all levels. And it will continue if it's necessary for you personally. It will continue to integrate and to work on many levels of your being for as long as this is needed. I get at most 2 hours for most of you. Just know that you might feel a little bit lightheaded, a little bit like you're still not quite here, and that's okay. Just take a few deep breaths to fully come back into your body. Okay, when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Just know if you're by yourself, if there are other people around, you can look at them in the eyes. That will help you come more fully back. But if you're not, if you have a pet, that will help. Petting your pet, or just looking around and really being conscious of your surroundings. It'll help you come back into your body. So, how was that for you?
Whoa, what a journey. Do you want to hear more?
Yes.
I could see myself like as a pink pyramid, double pyramid, and I had this revelation like, wow, my matrix is like, it is made of stardust. Like I could see myself in this universe and with all the stars, and I'm just a field in this bigger field. And it's like, wow, this feels so beautiful to be part of this bigger field, this pulsating field. And also, like, I had this supernova explosion in my third eye, like
That's awesome.
Yeah, and also I don't know what it means, but it had like this kind of an S, like a half lying S shape, like a kind of a river that is moving through this pyramid. Don't ask me, but it's like I always wanted to make this. I didn't do it, but it's like, whoa, something is flowing through there. Like I'm this energy field. This like my third eye opens, but there's this river flowing through me.
It's how your energy moves. I can see it. Yeah.
It's
That's really cool.
It's like I feel like I could spend hours just
you may need to go dancing. Need a new move.
Yeah. That was awesome. Thank you so much.
So that was just a taste. I mean, obviously,
yeah.
if for a business or a project or something, and personally, I just starting to do them with my my awakening coaching clients, where I'm it's just, if it's called for, we'll go into the matrix, and yeah, so it can be used for lots of different things. But, obviously we'd go into more depth, and there'd be opportunities to ask questions specifically about the business and that sort of thing. But you got a taste of what it's like to do that.
It's absolutely fantastic. And yeah, it's on your homepage. The homepage is thecosmicconduit.com.
Yes.
And there is, and the header says services.
Yes.
And I need to wear my specs. Services, and it says spiritual business activations and consultings. This is your matrix work, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But would you work with people? Because I know a lot of people who read my blog and who work with me who don't have a business yet. They're kind of dreaming it up, or they wonder if they want to start a business. You could work with them as well.
That's what I just did. I just did one for someone, and she said, I want to do it, but I don't have a business yet. I'm supposed to be doing something in the world. And it was very helpful for her. Well, first of all, it just opened up so that she would start getting more information to help her decide which direction to go in. But it just opened her up to possibilities. So, and the matrix was there. It's not like, even though she doesn't have an official business, it's already there. And whether she ever does anything with it or not, it's still, it was more about purpose, her, like, why am I here on the planet? What am I here to do? It might not be starting your own business. It might be being part of something else. But so it doesn't need to be that you have a business and you come, although that is very helpful, especially if it's a business where you're supposed to be having a reboot and do something differently, but you're not quite sure which direction to take it in, or it also, you have the opportunity to ask questions too, where, if you're not sure kind of which way to go with the business, we can actually tune in and ask, see how the business is connected to other matrices. Like if you want to collaborate with someone, like how do those matrices fit together?
Wow. So you communicate with the matrix.
Yes.
Yes. That's absolutely beautiful. I'm so delighted, and like I feel like I'm wearing a big lamp here. Like
you're shining. Drink lots of water after that. Make sure, because it needs a lot of energy.
This is so energizing, and this is such a joyful experience to feel this connection. Like I wasn't aware of it. Like, yes, I'm part of this bigger field, and I can see it and I feel it, and I can tap into it.
Yes. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, my ultimate goal always with anyone that I work with is that you get to a place that you can do this yourself. Or it's not even so much that, but you can if you want to. Because, often I think, especially when you're doing energy work or intuitive work, or like you go to a psychic or something like that, there's a tendency to like give our power away to someone else. And my belief is that we all have the ability to tap into our own gifts, our own unique way of seeing or knowing or hearing, whatever it is. And that being said, it also, sometimes you can't do it for yourself. your ego, your mind, because we're human, it will get in the way. I mean, I have guides and coaches and things like that I go to, because as much as I've learned to do a lot of it myself, still sometimes having someone else go in, it's much clearer. So
Yeah, it's so helpful because we kind of walk around in our own thoughts.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. Cheryl, I think it's such a delight to work with you. I told Will that I do an interview with you. This is just like a little side note. And he said, "Oh, Cheryl, she's so much fun." He was like super, super joyful when he hears, "Oh, Cheryl is so much fun." And I absolutely can agree. It's your energy is so delightful, and it's so like work on a very deep level, but with a very playful, joyful attitude.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's when it's funny, even doing this interview with you, I was thinking about the fact that a lot of the stuff I have not talked about publicly, and I think in a lot of the clients that I work with that are more in the woo-woo spiritual field, it's a little, putting yourself out there can be one of the blocks in having your business go forward. Mm-hmm. And yet, whether someone relates to the language that we use or not, it's important to put ourselves out there in whatever way we're to communicate our passion in the world, right? So I think, I have the woo-woo, but I'm also very grounded. So
yeah,
I have both.
That's the reason why I was so eager to talk to you and to make this interview with you, because for me that's a really rare combination, to have your real deep know-how about how to run a business, how to do social media, how to be out there, and also like how to be deeply, deeply connected to your heart and work with intuition and use all your spiritual tools as well. So I think you're super special and you're so much fun, and thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And guys, check it out, The Cosmic Conduit. You will see pictures from about Cheryl, some more, and check out her page, services. You find all the matrix work there. Thank you.